The Forgotten Colony. The white dwarf star Proxus cast a weak light over the colony of Nova Haven, its buildings etched against the barren landscape like the last vestiges of hope in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. The colony had once been humanity's pride, a testament to their determination to reach beyond the boundaries that nature had set. Now, it was something else entirely, a reminder of broken promises. Commander Maya Chen stood at the viewing port of Nova Haven's command center, her weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass. 15 years she had served this colony, watching it grow from a cluster of prefab shelters to a sprawling settlement of nearly 50,000 souls. 15 years of building something from nothing, on a planet the United Systems Alliance had all but forgotten. Commander, Lieutenant Ravi Patel's voice broke through her thoughts. Long-range scanners have detected multiple objects entering the system. They're not broadcasting any recognition codes. Maya's spine stiffened. Nova Haven sat at the edge of mapped space, far from established trade routes. Unannounced visitors were rare, and rarely brought good news. How many? She asked. 7 vessels. Configuration unknown. But they're big, Commander. Bigger than anything in our databanks. Maya turned from the viewport. The command center hummed with quiet activity, its staff of 12 managing the colony's day-to-day operations. They weren't soldiers. None of them were. The United Systems Alliance had promised military support when Nova Haven was established, but like so many other promises, it had evaporated when rare earth deposits in the planet's crust proved less abundant than initially thought. Alert status yellow, Maya ordered, and open a communication channel. Wide broadcast, all frequencies. Ravi nodded, his fingers dancing across his console. Channel open. Maya straightened her uniform, a simple gray jumpsuit with the Nova Haven insignia, a rising sun over a distant horizon. This is Commander Maya Chen of the human colony Nova Haven. Unidentified vessels, please identify yourselves and state your purpose in our system. The silence that followed stretched for nearly a minute before the communication array crackled to life. The voice that emerged was not human, a deep, reverberating sound that seemed to bypass their translation software entirely. Human colony, the voice said, each syllable precisely measured. We are the Exer-Thol Collective. Your presence has been noted. Your resources cataloged. Your defenses assessed. You will surrender your colony and population for integration. Resistance is inefficient. The command center fell silent. Maya's throat tightened. Exer-Thol Collective, she replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. We are a peaceful settlement. We have no quarrel with you or any other spacefaring civilization. Perhaps we can discuss. Discussion is inefficient. The voice interrupted. Your technological level is inadequate for meaningful exchange. You will receive integration protocols within 1 planetary rotation. Prepare your population. The communication cut off abruptly. Maya turned to Ravi, whose dark skin had taken on an ashen hue. Get me everything we have on the Exer-Thol, she ordered, and contact the Alliance. Emergency channel. Commander, Ravi hesitated. The last emergency communication we sent took 6 months to receive a response. Maya's jaw tightened. Send it anyway. As Ravi turned back to his console, Maya activated the colony-wide communication system. Attention all Nova Haven personnel. This is Commander Chen. We have made first contact with a non-human entity identifying itself as the Exer-Thol Collective. As a precautionary measure, I am initiating Emergency Protocol 37 Delta. All civilian personnel are to report to their designated shelter zones. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. She released the comm button and turned to her second-in-command, Dr. Eliza Novak. The colony's chief scientist looked as though she'd seen a ghost. Eliza, what is it? The Exer-Thol, Eliza whispered. I've read reports, unconfirmed of course, from the outer colonies. They're assimilators. They don't conquer or destroy. They absorb. Technology, resources, people, all become part of their collective. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. How reliable are these reports? Reliable enough that the Alliance has classified all information about them. I only know because my brother works in xenobiology at Central Command. Maya turned back to the viewport. In the distance, barely visible against the stars, 7 dark shapes were moving into orbit around Nova Haven. Whatever these HFY were, whatever they wanted, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Her colony, her people, were on their own. "Commander," Ravi called, his voice tight with tension. "I've accessed the emergency protocols. There's something here, something I've never seen." "Commander," Ravi called, his voice tight with tension. "I've accessed the emergency protocols. There's something here, something I've never seen before." Maya crossed to his station. On his screen was a security interface requiring biometric authorization. Her authorization. "Lazarus contingent," she read aloud. "What is this, Ravi?" "I don't know, Commander. It was buried in the colony's founding protocols. Triple encrypted. It only surfaced now because I initiated a complete emergency systems review." Maya placed her palm on the scanner. A moment later, the screen changed, displaying a simple message. "Lazarus contingent, ultimate emergency protocol for human colonies under existential threat. Initiating this protocol will activate a quantum entanglement beacon. Authorization will permanently log Commander's DNA signature as responsible party." Below the message was a single button. Activate. "A quantum entanglement beacon?" Eliza asked, reading over Maya's shoulder. "That's impossible. That technology is theoretical at best." "Apparently not," Maya murmured. Her finger hovered over the button. Whatever this Lazarus contingent was, it had been hidden in Nova Haven's systems since the colony's founding. A failsafe so secret that even she, the colony's commander, hadn't known of its existence until now. "Commander," Ravi interrupted, "the HFY vessels are deploying smaller craft. Hundreds of them. They're entering the atmosphere." Outside the viewport, the sky was darkening, not with clouds, but with the sleek metallic shapes of alien craft descending toward Nova Haven. Maya pressed the button. The screen flashed once, then displayed a simple message. "Lazarus contingent activated. Quantum beacon online. Signal transmitted." "Now what?" Eliza asked. Maya turned back to the viewport, watching as the first of the alien craft touched down at the colony's outskirts. "Now we fight. And we hope that whatever this Lazarus contingent is, it brings help before it's too late." The next 12 hours passed in a blur of desperate resistance. Nova Haven's security force, a mere 100 personnel armed with little more than riot gear and mining lasers, repurposed as weapons, fought valiantly against the HFY ground forces. The aliens were humanoid in the broadest sense, bipedal with 2 arms and a central head. But the similarities ended there. Their bodies seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, adapting to the environment around them. Their weapons fired not projectiles or energy beams, but some kind of corrosive substance that ate through armor, flesh, and even the colony's reinforced walls. From the command center, Maya coordinated what defense she could. They'd managed to evacuate most of the civilians to the emergency shelters beneath the colony, but hundreds were unaccounted for, presumably captured by the HFY forces that now controlled nearly 70% of Nova Haven's surface structures. "Commander," Ravi called, his voice hoarse from hours of continuous communication with their scattered forces. "We've lost contact with sectors 7 through 12. The HFY have reached the main power distribution hub." Maya nodded grimly. They were running out of options. The emergency generators would keep the command center operational for another day at most. After that, "Commander," Eliza's voice cut through the gloom. She was staring at her sensor display, her eyes wide. "There's something happening at the edge of the system. Some kind of spatial distortion." Maya moved to her station. The display showed a massive energy reading near the system's Kuiper belt. far beyond where the Exer full fleet had entered. As they watched, the reading intensified, forming what appeared to be a tear in the very fabric of space. "What is that?" Maya whispered. Elisa shook her head. "I don't know. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's as if space itself is being folded." The command center's communication array suddenly crackled to life. The voice that emerged was human, deep, authoritative, and carrying an accent Maya couldn't quite place. "Nova Haven Command. This is Admiral Karen Frost of the Earth Defense Force Ghost Fleet. We have received your Lazarus signal and are inbound to your position. Hold fast. Help is coming." Maya exchanged shocked glances with her staff. The Earth Defense Force. Ghost Fleet. None of these terms meant anything to her. And yet, look, Ravi pointed to the main view screen, which was displaying a feed from their long-range scanners. From the spatial distortion at the edge of the system, ships were emerging. Not 7, like the Exer full fleet, but dozens. Then hundreds, a veritable armada, appearing as if from nowhere, their hulls gleaming like obsidian in the distant sunlight. The beacon worked, Elisa breathed. The Lazarus contingent. It worked. Maya felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel since the Exer full arrived. Hope. "Ravi, open a channel to this Admiral Frost," she ordered, "and get me a status report on the Exer full fleet. I want to know what they're doing, now that they're not the only predators in the system." As Ravi complied, Maya returned to the viewport. In the sky above Nova Haven, visible even through the atmosphere, new stars seemed to be appearing. The running lights of ships, too numerous to count, moving into position around the embattled colony. She pressed her palm against the cool glass. "Come quickly, Admiral Frost," she whispered. "We can't hold out much longer." The Ghost Fleet. Admiral Karen Frost stood on the bridge of the EDF Nemesis, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display before him. At 63, he was older than most active-duty admirals, his hair more silver than the black it had once been, his face lined with the weight of decisions most humans would never have to make. The uniform he wore bore no insignia of rank. None of the Ghost Fleet's ships or personnel carried identification that could be traced back to Earth or the United Systems Alliance. "Status report," he ordered, his voice carrying across the bridge without needing to be raised. "Transition complete, Admiral." His XO, Commander Sophia Wade, replied. 375 vessels present and accounted for. Minimal transition stress. All systems nominal. Karen nodded. The Alcubierre drives had performed perfectly, folding space around the fleet to traverse the vast distance between their hidden base in the Oort cloud and the Nova Haven system in mere hours rather than the years conventional travel would have required. Tactical assessment. Commander Wade gestured at the holographic display. 7 Exer-full capital ships in high orbit. Approximately 500 smaller craft deployed to the colony surface. They appear to be conducting a standard assimilation operation, securing critical infrastructure and capturing population centers. And the colony? Still fighting, sir. Their command center remains secure, though they've lost control of most surface installations. Civilian casualties appear to be minimal. The Exer-full prefer live subjects for their integration process. Karen's jaw tightened at the clinical description of what was, essentially, a fate worse than death. The Exer-full didn't kill their victims. They transformed them, using a combination of biotechnology and neural reprogramming to turn free beings into extensions of their collective consciousness. It was a process the Ghost Fleet had witnessed on 17 other worlds across the galaxy, always arriving too late to prevent it, but in time to document, to learn, and to prepare. This time would be different. "Open a channel to that Exer-full command vessel," he ordered. Wade hesitated. "Sir, standard protocol is to engage without warning. The Exer-full have never responded to diplomatic." "Today they will," Karen interrupted. "Because today they're going to learn what happens when they attack a world under humanity's protection." Wade nodded, and worked her console. Channel open. Sir. Karen straightened. Exer Full Collective, this is Admiral Karen Frost of the Earth Defense Force. You have invaded a human colony and attacked our people. In doing so, you have committed an act of war against humanity. You will immediately cease all hostile actions, withdraw your forces from Nova Haven, and leave this system. This is your only warning. The response came almost instantly, the same deep, resonant voice that Maya Chen had heard. Human vessel, your presence is unexpected. Your demands are irrelevant. This colony will be integrated into the collective. Your fleet will be cataloged and assimilated. Resistance is inefficient. Karen smiled grimly. Inefficient, perhaps, but very, very human. He turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Phillips. Target their assault craft on the planet's surface. Precision strikes only. I want minimal damage to the colony infrastructure. Aye, sir, Phillips responded, his fingers dancing across his console. Targeting solutions calculated. Kinetic penetrators armed and ready. Fire. From the belly of 50 Ghost Fleet destroyers, pencil-thin beams of coherent light lanced out, invisible in the vacuum of space, but leaving brief ionization trails in Nova Haven's upper atmosphere. Each beam tracked a Xerf-Hull assault craft, pinpointing its location with nanometer precision. A millisecond after each targeting beam, a solid tungsten rod, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, followed, punching through the Xerf-Hull craft's shields and hull as if they were tissue paper. On the colony surface, Maya Chen watched in awe as Xerf-Hull ships began exploding in perfect synchronization, raining debris across Nova Haven's outskirts, but leaving the colony buildings untouched. What kind of weapons can do that? Eliza breathed, staring at her sensor readings. Nothing in the Alliance arsenal, Maya replied. Nothing I've ever heard of. The command center's communication array activated again. Commander Chen, this is Admiral Frost. We've begun neutralizing the Xerf-Hull ground forces. Be advised, their capital ships are moving to engage us. We're deploying shield drones to your position to provide additional protection for your command center and civilian shelters. Acknowledged, Admiral, Maya responded. And thank you. Save your thanks, Commander. The battle's just beginning. In orbit, the 7 Xerf-Hull capital ships were indeed moving, their formation shifting as they turned to face the threat that had appeared from nowhere. They were massive vessels, each nearly a kilometer in length, their hulls composed of a strange, mottled material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Xerf-Hull vessels powering weapons, Phillips reported on the Nemesis bridge. Energy signatures consistent with matter disruption cannons. Karen nodded. The Xerf-Hull's primary ship-to-ship weapons were devastating, capable of literally unraveling matter at the subatomic level. But they had one critical weakness. They required immense power and precise targeting. Initiate Phantom Protocol, he ordered. Throughout the Ghost Fleet, holographic projectors activated, creating thousands of false sensor images, perfect duplicates of their ships, indistinguishable from the real vessels on any scanning system. Simultaneously, quantum field generators distorted the actual ships' positions, making them appear to be meters away from their true locations. The Xerf-Hull fired. 7 brilliant beams of energy lanced out from their capital ships, each targeting what their sensors told them was an Earth vessel. The beams passed harmlessly through empty space, the holographic targets flickering briefly as the energy dissipated. Return fire, Karen ordered calmly. All vessels, attack pattern Omega. The Ghost Fleet moved with perfect coordination, ships flowing around each other in complex patterns that no human pilot could have managed. They were all AI-assisted, their movements calculated to the microsecond, their attacks synchronized for maximum effect. The first volley was kinetic, hypersonic projectiles that struck the Xerf-Hull shields like a tsunami, not designed to penetrate but to strain, to test, to gather data on the aliens' defensive capabilities. The The second volley was electromagnetic, focused EMP bursts targeting specific frequencies that Ghost Fleet intelligence had identified as critical to exert full shield harmonics. The third volley was when the real damage began. Quantum disruptors online, Phillips reported. Target lock confirmed. Fire, Karen ordered. From the forward emitters of 50 Ghost Fleet cruisers, beams of what appeared to be blue-white lightning erupted, converging on the lead Exerthal vessel. The alien ship's shields flared briefly, then collapsed as the quantum disruptors forced a localized breakdown in the very laws of physics that allowed the shields to function. A moment later, the same vessel shuddered as precision-guided missiles streaked through the gap in its defenses, detonating inside its hull. The Exerthal ship didn't explode so much as come apart, sections of its hull peeling away like layers of an onion, internal systems exposed to the vacuum of space. One down, Wade reported. The others are adjusting their shield frequencies. Karen nodded. As expected, switched to tachyon inversion. The battle continued for hours, a complex dance of measure and countermeasure. The Exerthal were adaptive, their technology sophisticated. But the Ghost Fleet had the advantage of surprise, and of having studied the Exerthal for years without the aliens' knowledge. On Nova Haven's surface, the tide was turning as well. With their assault craft destroyed and their capital ships engaged in orbit, the remaining Exerthal ground forces found themselves isolated. Ghost Fleet Marines, deployed in stealth drop pods, moved through the colony with ruthless efficiency, their combat suits equipped with the same adaptive technology that made their ships so deadly. In the command center, Maya coordinated with the Ghost Fleet's ground commander, directing them to civilian shelters and highlighting areas where Exerthal resistance was strongest. It was during one such communication that she first learned what the Ghost Fleet truly was. "I don't understand," she said to the Marine commander, a grizzled veteran who identified himself only as Colonel Vega. "Why haven't we heard of your fleet before? Why didn't the Alliance send you when we first called for help?" Vega's laugh was without humor. "Because officially, Commander, we don't exist. The Ghost Fleet was created over 50 years ago, after humanity's first encounter with the Exerthal. An entire colony, New Melbourne, was lost before the Alliance even knew what was happening." "But I've never heard of New Melbourne," Maya protested. "Exactly. When the Alliance finally responded, they found nothing but empty buildings and Exerthal technology. They nuked the site from orbit and erased all records of the colony's existence. And then they created us, a fleet that operates in the shadows, using technology most of humanity doesn't even know exists, watching for signs of the Exerthal's return." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. And the Lazarus contingent. A last resort. A quantum-entangled beacon embedded in every human colony, designed to activate only in the event of an existential threat. "Your distress signal reached Earth 6 months ago, Commander, but the Lazarus signal reached us instantly." In orbit, the battle was reaching its climax. 6 Exerthal capital ships had been destroyed or disabled, their wreckage forming a new ring around Nova Haven. The 7th, the command vessel, was surrounded by Ghost Fleet ships, its weapons silent, its engines dead. "Open a channel," Karen ordered. "Channel open, sir." "Exerthal Collective," he began, his voice hard as steel. "Your forces are defeated, your ships destroyed. But I'm going to let you live, what remains of you. I want you to return to your people. Show them the footage of this battle. Tell them what happened here, and deliver this message. Humanity is not prey. We are not to be harvested or assimilated or experimented upon. We are to be left alone. Because next time, we won't stop with your ships. Next time, we'll follow you home." There was a long pause before the Exerthal responded. When they did, their voice seemed changed, less certain, with an undertone that might almost have been fear. "This outcome was not anticipated. Your technology is beyond our models. Your tactics unpredictable. We will withdraw." Karen nodded to Phillips, who entered a command. The Ghost Fleet ships parted, opening a corridor for the crippled HFY vessel to limp away. "See that you do," Karen replied. "And remember what happened here." As the alien ship slowly accelerated away from Nova Haven, Karen turned to Wade. Status of the colony. Ground forces report the remaining HFY have been neutralized. Approximately 200 colonists were taken aboard their ships before we arrived. The rest are safe. Karen closed his eyes briefly. 200 souls lost, transformed into something no longer human, their individuality subsumed into the HFY collective consciousness. It was a tragedy, but far less than what might have been. "Signal the Nemesis to prepare for atmospheric entry," he ordered. "I want to meet Commander Chen in person." The meeting took place in Nova Haven's central plaza, under the open sky of a world that had come perilously close to falling. Admiral Frost, accompanied by Commander Wade and a small security detail, arrived in a shuttle that seemed to bend light around itself, becoming nearly invisible until it settled onto the colony's landing pad. Maya waited with her senior staff, still struggling to process everything that had happened. The plaza showed signs of battle: scorched walls, broken windows, debris scattered across the once immaculate grounds. But it was still standing. Nova Haven was still standing. Admiral Frost was not what Maya had expected. In her mind, the commander of such a fleet would be younger, more imposing. Instead, she was greeted by a man who reminded her of her grandfather, his hair silver, his face lined with age and experience, his eyes holding a depth of knowledge that made her feel like a child in comparison. "Commander Chen," he said, extending his hand. "It's an honor to meet you. Your defense of this colony was nothing short of heroic." Maya took his hand. "The honor is mine, Admiral. Without your arrival, Nova Haven would have fallen." Karen nodded, his expression solemn. "That's why we exist, Commander. To ensure that humanity's reach into the stars isn't cut short by threats we never saw coming." "Colonel Vega explained some of it," Maya said. "But I still don't understand why the Alliance keeps your existence secret. If people knew that protection like yours was available, they'd stop being careful," Karen interrupted gently. "They'd push further, faster, assuming that we'd always be there to save them. And we can't be everywhere, Commander. Even with our technology, even with every ship and soldier under my command, there are limits to what we can do." He gestured around at the recovering colony. "Nova Haven will be rebuilt, stronger than before. We'll leave you with defensive technology that will give you a fighting chance against most threats, and the Alliance will send reinforcements now that the immediate danger has passed." "And the HFY?" Maya asked. "Will they come back?" "Not here," Karen assured her. "They've learned that this world is defended. But there are other colonies, other species, other worlds that don't have what you had. A direct line to Earth's most secret weapon." Maya nodded, understanding dawning. The Lazarus contingent wasn't just about saving us, was it? It was about revealing the HFY, forcing them into the open where you could finally engage them directly. Karen smiled, the expression warming his austere features. "You would have made a fine Ghost Fleet officer, Commander Chen. Yes, we've been hunting the HFY for decades, trying to locate their homeworld, their manufacturing centers, their leadership. This is the closest we've ever come." He looked up at the sky, where the wreckage of the HFY fleet still orbited. "We'll follow the ship we let escape, track it back to its point of origin, and then perhaps we can end this threat once and for all." Maya looked around at her colony, damaged but unbroken, its people emerging from shelters, recovering their wounded, beginning the process of rebuilding. "Will we ever hear from you again?" "Probably not," Karen admitted. "The Ghost Fleet will return to the shadows, watching, waiting, protecting humanity from threats most will never know existed. But you'll know, Commander. You'll know that no matter how far from Earth your people travel, no matter how alone you might feel, someone is watching. Someone will come." As if on cue, A communication chirped from Wade's wrist device. "Admiral," she said after checking it, "the HFY vessel is accelerating. We need to move if we're going to track it." Karen nodded and turned back to Maya. "Duty calls, Commander. Nova Haven is in your capable hands." "Good hunting, Admiral," Maya replied. "And thank you for everything." As the Ghost Fleet shuttle lifted off, shimmering into near invisibility as it rose, Maya stood with her people, watching it disappear into the sky. The HFY had come to Nova Haven believing that they had found an isolated, defenseless human colony, easy prey for their endless hunger for assimilation. They had learned, instead, that humanity was never truly alone, never truly defenseless. And somewhere in the depths of space, as the Ghost Fleet prepared to follow the fleeing HFY ship into unknown territory, Admiral Karen Frost stood on his bridge and gave the order that would begin the next chapter in humanity's shadow war. "All ships, prepare for transition. The hunt continues."